Hello, everyone. This is X Walkill Bethelite here, and I can't help thinking every day I wake up the same thought, and that is, I am so glad to be out of that organization. As cold as it is outside, I would be out there. I would be walking just through freezing cold snow. I'd probably be in my dress shoes, snow getting all down in my dress shoes. I just remember my hands freezing, and once my hands got so cold, it was just over with. But kept pushing on, kept knocking on those doors, and to think I would still be out there doing that right now and have an hourly requirement and doing it had I not learned the truth about the truth. So it's a great day to be free, not just today, but on into forever. A thought came to mind, and I was wondering what you guys thought about this. So, I'm putting this out there for you guys. So, comment down below, send me an email, give me a call. I want to know what you guys think about this, because once people find out that the truth is not the truth, this organization is not the truth. They're not what they say they are. Once people start to get that understanding, there's still a choice to be made. You're not automatically out just because you find out that the organization teaches falsehood. You still have to make the choice to leave. So, what are the pros and cons? What are the pros of leaving the organization, and what are the cons to staying? Actually, let's reverse that. Let's do the pros for staying and also the cons for staying in the organization after you found out, which hopefully people are starting to find out by now, that this is not the one and only true organization on earth. Let's start with some of the cons to staying in the organization. I'll name off some here, and you guys come up with your own list. Somebody could do a video response. There's so much that we can do with this. Now, here's a list of cons. You have an altered Bible if you stay in the organization. The silver sword or whatever you want to call it. If you don't know who your translators are, you're the only ones that use these Bibles. So you should know more about it than anybody else. If you don't know who your translation team is as to their credentials in being able to accurately translate and how scholarly the work is, if you don't know that, come on, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Oh, well, they didn't let us know who the translation team was because those brothers are humble. Stop it. Find out who the translation team is. Find out what their credentials are. And you're going to find out that your Bible that you're using is not accurate. Next, loss of life. People dying because of not taking a blood transfusion. To me, this is enough by itself. I've lost a relative who could be here today had she been able to have a blood transfusion, because you got to understand that once you get older, once people get older in general, you're going to start having more health issues than you normally would. So let's say someone's older and has a stroke, or someone's older and has a heart attack, or a number of different things happen as they get older. Well, your body isn't as strong as it was when you were younger. So if the doctors need to open you up in order to do a medical procedure, oftentimes your body's not able to withstand that unless they're able to replace the fluids that are leaving the body because of the operation. So if you're not able to have a transfusion, you're just asking for trouble at some point with someone in your family at some point in their life. Not to mention the children, and not to mention the people who have died because of not taking blood fractions before they figured out, oh, well, I guess if you break blood into individual fractions, then it's okay because it's not. Well, before they started all that, people weren't accepting the blood fractions, and that caused irreversible damage in people's lives. And that's only the second con. And to me, the loss of life is enough. Okay, the third, child molestation. That in and of itself is enough. If you are part of any organization and you found out that was going on, you leave. But yet, for some reason, this one has got special treatment, or there's excuses. But any other organization on earth that you were a part of and you found out child molestation was going on and it wasn't being reported, you would be gone. This is a religious organization. So that's another con. Having to be aware of that and having that on your conscience that you are in and participating and supporting an organization that has harbored child molestation. The next one, spousal abuse. This is terrible. This is horrible. When I started to find out, because I've never been married. I chose Bethel over, trying to get married. But I've talked to a lot of people, and I started to find out how prevalent verbal and emotional and even physical abuse is in the organization. And then the wife goes to the elders to talk to them, supposedly spiritually mature men, about what's going on with her husband in the abuse. And of course, some of the responses are similar to this, like telling her, well, you just have to be more submissive. You have to try to be a better wife. Be more like a godly wife. Like it's her fault. Like it's her fault. Like she's to blame. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Not doing anything to the husband because, well, as long as there isn't any sexual relations outside of the marriage, well, she can't get out, even if there is abuse. That is ridiculous. Next, information control. Actually not being able to get online and research what you want to research and determine for yourself if you think that that information is reliable or not. Only being able to really study information out of the organization's library, which again, we talked about the altered Bible. So the rest of that library is no more reliable than their Bible, which should be the most important book. Okay, governing body kind of taking the place of Jesus Christ here. Anytime you have a situation like that, then that's when people start to define you as somewhat of a cult. When you have leaders that are in a position where they cannot even be questioned, that is when you're going to fall under or start falling under the definition of a cult. You're following men. If you can't question them, you're following men. Next, the 1914, 1925, and 1975 Goofups. That should be embarrassing to you if you want to be a part of this organization. 1914, 1925, and 1975, just goofing all up all over the place. I had to ask a relative about this because, of course, I wasn't really around back then, and they admitted to it, but weren't really that comfortable talking about it, and for good reason, because there's no real way you can explain this if you feel you are receiving information directly from God. The next con is a lot of wasted time going door to door, sitting in those meetings, and you know, it's great when someone wakes up, but oftentimes what they lament is the amount of time that they spent in that organization and having not having a lot to show for it sometimes. Some people do, but sometimes people don't have a lot to show for it. So just a lot of wasted time just spent benefiting the organization, but not really benefiting yourself at all. The next con kind of goes hand in hand with what we just discussed, is not living your fullest potential. Because oftentimes there's the concept that, well, we're going to live our fullest potential in the new system, but as for right now, we're going to try to stay away from anything outside of the organization, and things outside the organization help you reach your potential. So that is a major, major, major con with people not being able to really fully reach their potential, really not knowing who they are because of the organization. Next con, instability with continuous changes. That one speaks for itself. They need to make up their minds as to what they're teaching. The whole school is changed from my understanding. I mean, you got people with carts now. They need to make up their mind as to what it is they're going to do. And the next con is isolation from those outside the religion. This includes sometimes family outside the religion. So you may have family outside the organization, and you leave the organization after you find out that it's false, but now you're estranged. Now now there's a just now you're not close to your relatives that are out, and then the relatives that are in are shunning you. So that is a problem. And the next one, raising children who become psychologically damaged because of the organization's teachings and that live in constant fear of Armageddon. I could not raise children in the organization knowing how damaging the teachings are, how it makes people just not trust anything outside the organization, and just in total fear if they do anything that Armageddon is going to come and that they're going to die, or that all their friends are going to die. That's not something that you want to teach children, period. Definitely not your own flesh and blood. Why would you want to teach them something like that? The next con is the general bad treatment of the organization's members. I can tell you all about that because my belongings were put in boxes, put in my car, and I was then directed to get in my car and to be hitting the door. So I'm in my car, not having had time to make arrangements or anything. So I'm technically homeless. That's what, is almost the definition of homeless, is You're in your car, you got all your stuff in there with you, and you don't know where you're going to go next. Like you literally don't have a home. That's homeless. So I go, ooh, man, I go serving Jehovah full time at Bethel to directly being homeless. According to everything that organization teaches, that is impossible. You can't put your trust in Jehovah and be homeless the next day. That happened. I mean, so the bad treatment of its members, man, that is a big con. Individuality, this is the next one. Individuality is discouraged. So again, people not knowing who they are because they are trying to be the prototype witness, whatever the organization puts out there as to what the prototype witness is kind of what people are trying to be. If you got some people with the little, using their cell phones and the iPads and everything, now you got everybody wanting. You just, there's not very much individuality that is encouraged in the organization. And then the next con is the feeling of never being good enough. I've been out in service, man, all day while serving at Bethel. I auxiliary pioneered at Bethel. No, they don't tell you you have to do it, but it's something that I did because I love Jehovah and felt that I couldn't outwork Jehovah. I felt the more that I did, the more blessings that I would get. So, and I missed being out in the ministry. So at Bethel, I auxiliary pioneered and worked my tail off at Bethel. And when I wasn't working, I was in service and still didn't feel good enough. Next, unequal privileges for women in comparison with men. That's definitely huge because they haven't budged on this. Women have got like a permanent second kind of a lower status, and they haven't budged on that. So if you believe in women's equal rights, which I do, then that is a huge con to just see something like that. All these women being held back in this organization and not being able to have the same privileges or positions as men. Next, the new 1914 overlapping generations teaching. Most people I've talked to about this that are in the organization, they can't explain it. You ask them the question, they got to get back to you. They don't even understand this. This is garbage. So that's another con, is that you have to believe things that are ridiculous. The list or database of child sexual abuse predators that have not been handed over to the police. Yes, so all these congregations all around the world, when these elders meet and there's judicial hearings about these people being inappropriate with children, and that information is stored all around the world. I mean, countless child abuse predators could be at least being investigated by police, but aren't. Just countless of predators are out there, and they are the reason why countless predators are out there, probably preying on children as we speak. That, like, it makes you sick to your stomach to say it, to even think it. It makes you sick to your stomach to even think something like that. Like, literally, you just have this chill goes through my spine where it's like, they've got a big database. They've got this huge list that could help children, that could save a child's life in the sense of not being just totally psychologically damaged by being abused sexually and having to face all the things that come along with that. They could stop that, but they don't. They've got the list and they just are instructing people, from my understanding, to destroy records like that. Instead of handing them over, just hand them over if you're actually concerned about doing God's will. That's huge. Just knowing that. I can't walk into a hall and not just feel disgusted knowing that. And the next one is the destroyed marriages and family relationships. So yes, there's people that their marriage was destroyed. Maybe due to the pressure that the organization puts on members, it puts stress on the family. It maybe cause them to act differently. It maybe cause them to become abusive. There's a lot of different things that have happened. And those are not just cons, those are huge cons. Now, let's talk about a couple of the pros for staying. So, pros, this is good things in staying. And I only have a couple of those. You guys, please help me out with that. Put some pros down there because I can only come up with 3. And I thought about this for days. I could only come up with 3. One is if you have family in, keeping family, which that's iffy because if one of them gets disfellowship, then you got to shun them. Or if something happens to you, they're gonna shun you. It's just an accident waiting to happen, really. 2 is avoiding confrontation, which I think both keeping your family and avoiding confrontation can be taken care of just by fading. And 3, the feeling of belonging. And I think that we've discussed this in a video before where there's thousands of organizations out there. There's billions of people. You can have a feeling of belonging and you can have friends. And you don't have to be part of this one destructive cult. There's billions of people. There's thousands of organizations. Just choose one, any of them, and enjoy yourself and enjoy the company of the people that are there. I went to a church, I think it was last Sunday, and only knew 2 people there. And what I did, I said, hey, watch this. And there's this big long aisle. It's like a pew. It's like a long bench, really long bench. And you got all these people sitting there. And I went down the aisle from person to person, shaking everyone's hand, just to prove a point, is that people are friendly people are friendly other places other than just the Kingdom Hall. I went down the whole aisle and I shook every one of their hands and they all smiled and said hello and introduced themselves. In one swoop, I introduced myself to like at least 15 people because I went from one end of the church clear to the other shaking hands and introducing myself. So you can meet people without having to subject yourself to this cult. So again, all the pros that I mentioned, keeping family, avoiding confrontation, and the feeling of belonging, you can have that just by fading. So those really aren't even pros that you have to stay in the organization to have. So again, I'm putting this out there for you guys. You guys let me know. If you guys think that there's more pros to staying than there are cons, please put it down there in the link below. Again, this is X Walk Hill Bethelite. Contact me. My number is 937-607-5085. Send me a text. Let me know who you are. Put my email down below. You can get at me on Skype, and we can share experiences. So again, this is X Walk Hill Bethelite signing out.